We've got Bill O'Reilly with us, mega best-selling author, commentator. You all know where to go get his stuff, BillO'Reilly.com. Latest book, Confronting Evil, Assessing the Worst of the Worst. I'm sure, Bill, there's a whole chapter on people who chew with their mouths open, the worst of the worst. Thank you so much for being here with us. Appreciate that.
Listen, guys, I always like talking to you. Thanks for having me in.
Let's get into the shutdown right away, shall we? What the heck was this all about? I mean, give us your sense as to what the Democrats think they got out of this and what they really got out of this, and how they're going to go forward now that a lot of people, I think, saw this not the way that they had intended.
Well, they won a partial victory last week when New Jersey went Democrat in the gubernatorial race when it was supposed to be considered very tight. It was not. And people were angry about the government shutdown. Whenever the American public gets angry, they vote against the incumbents. That's all the way back to John Adams. And it's always been that way. But the genesis of this is that the Democratic Party was getting beaten so badly by President Trump that it had to make a stand somewhere, sometime. And the people who run the party, which are far left progressive consultants, not senators or Congress people, that the party is being run. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal editorial page today, a very good article about money people calling the shots in the Democratic Party. Well, they decided, look, the Republicans' weakness is they don't have a health care plan to bring down costs. So we'll insist that the temporary Obamacare spending, which rose and was supposed to come back down after the pandemic subsided, be made permanent. And the Democrats who fostered that knew that Trump and the Republicans would never agree, never, to more spending in a chaotic program. So they knew that the government was going to shut down. Now, they thought that they might be able to wait it out. But when 8 Democrats defected, it was over. So 43 days, millions of Americans hurt for nothing. The Democrats got nothing.
Bill, it seems quite clear that Democrats recognize that they misplayed this, that they have created a mess for themselves. And so they decided, hey, the government's opening back up. Let's distract everybody. Let's throw out this Epstein story all over again. You've known, and Buck and I talked about that yesterday and said, hey, this is a clear attempt to try to avoid attention being placed upon their incompetence. What is the game plan here? As we look ahead to 2026, shouldn't we be concerned that they're just going to shut down the government again and again? That seems to me to be the most likely outcome because they don't really have any game plan, but they just want to be reflexively anti-Trump. And if that's true, what would be a remedy? Do you support adjusting the filibuster here to stop the government from being able to be shut down until 60 senators, which requires, 8 Democrats actually come to their senses?
Well, there's a lot of questions in there, Clay. Okay? So number one, it's obvious that Democrats threw this Epstein stuff out to deflect from the embarrassment of losing the shutdown.
Yes.
Everybody with an IQ over 50 knows that. Okay, number two, no, I wouldn't mess around with the filibuster at all because then you're going to create a monster that is going to come back and do some serious damage. You can't be changing the filibuster rules every 2 years. Number three, the way to do this is for a new law, and the Republicans have enough votes in both the House and the Senate to pass it. It says you get one shot at an adjustment of spending during a fiscal year. One. So we have a January date coming up where this might happen all over again. But I suspect it won't, because Democrats now are becoming the party of the mean party. And while a lot of Americans aren't smart enough to understand what's going on and don't really care. Most do. And so if the Democrats try the same stunt in January, there's going to be a lot of anger. And then you're only talking about 9 months until the midterms. So the Democrats got to be very careful here. But the way to stop it now is to pass a new law. You get one shot on a continuing funding basis a fiscal year.
Makes sense. I mean, they've got to figure out something to streamline this. We're talking to Bill O'Reilly, Confronting Evil, his latest massive bestseller. Make sure you go out and get a copy of it. So, Bill, we watched, or at least I watched. I think Clay saw some of the clips. You on Bill Maher. Well done, by the way. That's always it's a good show when they have somebody who doesn't just agree with all the communist lunacy out in California. So it was good that you were there. One thing, though, where Clay and I both wanted to press you on this one a little bit. You said something about how you don't think Gavin Newsom has a shot at the national level for the Democrats. Expand upon this one, because we were both thinking that's look. I'll just say it. We both have said we think it's going to be him at the top of the ticket, AOC at the bottom. It sounds like you disagree. Tell us why.
Because his record is so abysmal in California, it'd be very easy for the Republicans to just take him apart. And, the spending irresponsibility, and just yesterday his chief of staff was indicted on corruption. I mean, you start to look at this guy, Newsom, you're going to find 1,000 things that are going to weigh him down. And I'm not sure the Democratic Party wants to go with a candidate who's going to be on the defensive every single day. So I would say that a guy like Wes Moore, who's not as defined, he's the governor of Maryland. And he's a patriot, a military guy, has done a decent job trying to combat crime in Baltimore. I'd say he has a much better chance because he doesn't have that baggage. Now, Newsom is a good campaigner. He's using Trump tactics. He's, running on a populist thing. But when you use 1 million citizens, that's how many have left California under Newsom, 1 million, most of whom were affluent, paid big taxes. 1 million. You got something wrong with your state.
All right, well, we agree that he's done an awful job. Unfortunately, I think Democrats don't care about results, and he's the most strident in his attention gathering.
Like Kamala Harris, though.
Yeah,
they care about winning the next election, the presidential. So if you're going to put up a Kamala Harris, all right, and she can't articulate anything, which is what the case was, has not one solution to any problem, nothing, you're going to lose.
Should we do
another guy from California whose record is disastrous? You're going to lose.
Should we do a stake bet here? I don't think the three of us have gone out to dinner together. It's a little bit unfair because Buck and I get to pay half and half. But we think that Newsom will be the nominee. You do not. We're giving you the field, which actually is a great deal for you. Do we have a handshake bet here? Buck and I say right now, Gavin Newsom will be the nominee in 28. Are you willing to put a stake on the line? It would actually be 2 stakes for you over this situation.
Sure, but not because I'm that confident I'll win, because it's going to be a totally different country in 3 years. It's going to be a totally different country in 1 year.
Yeah.
That's why the election last week isn't going to have any direct bearing on the midterms next year. The country is changing with lightning speed. Lightning.
How concerned are you about that, by the way? Because Buck and I think one of the big stories that is still not getting enough attention is AI and how quickly it's going to change everything in this country. Buck and I have been talking about it a lot on this program. Are you of the opinion that AI is going to be transformative in many ways in terms of jobs, in terms of individual life?
And disruptive.
And disruptive,
with that transformation.
Yes.
The AI approach, because it's not quite here yet, is going to alter the media above all else. Because on social media, where you can't track these people down, you can't hold them accountable in court of law, you're going to have fake videos 24/7.
Yeah.
24/7. There's a congresswoman who accused Trump yesterday. Let me get her name. I got it in my notes because I'm going to do it on the No Spin News tonight on BillO'Reilly.com. She accused, and I'll just read it a quote, Melanie Stansberry from New Mexico. Okay? She says, I'd like to say to the American people, believe your eyes. We have all seen photographs of Donald Trump with underage girls sitting on his lap. That's a quote.
Yeah.
There are no photographs of Donald Trump with any girl on his lap. There was an AI photograph that was put out.
Yep.
Now, this congressperson from New Mexico is lying to the American people. Now, I don't know whether she is just stupid or venal or what, based upon some AI fake image that she saw. So multiply that by 10,000, because that's what's going to happen. And there's no regulation about it. How about that for a frightening scenario?
No, it's going to be.
Well, and also, how do you hold someone legally responsible, let's say, for defamation, Bill, if they say, well, I saw this news site shared this photo and it looked real? Because especially for a public figure, as you know, the standard has to be malice, has to be false. Tough to prove malice if someone's actually looking at a photo that looks like a real photo, right? I mean, I just think it complicates matters tremendously.
It makes it harder, but I think if Trump wanted to sue Stansberry, he would win. Because her statements about Trump are malicious. So you can bring in a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's the responsibility of any person trafficking in the public arena to make sure what they're saying is accurate.
Well,
now,
especially something like that, right? I mean,
no doubt.
Yeah, insinuating, some kind of sexual, violation, violation of laws.
She lied.
Right. Well, of course.
There's a picture.
Right, but you're going to see a lot more of this.
Okay?
Yeah.
An AI image may exist. That's not a picture. If I were Trump, I'd go after her. And if somebody does it to me, I'll go after them.
It's going to happen to everybody, Bill. I think you're hitting on something that's so incredibly important, because it's going to become virtually impossible to distinguish between photos, videos, what is real and fake. And honestly,
and what isn't real.
Yeah,
You bet.
people are going to believe whatever they want to believe. So there is going to be no ability to really kind of rein this in.
This is kind of a silly one, Bill, but, there was that photo after the Louvre heist. This is much less serious than the Trump thing, but after the Louvre heist, there was the photo of the detective who looked like he was, dressing up as like a French detective from, like the 1950s. And everyone was like, is it AI? Is it not AI? It was actually a real photo, apparently, but the guy had nothing to do with the cops. But by the time that photo had made it around everywhere, nobody knew what was reality. Everyone thought this guy was the lead detective on the Louvre case.
It even gets worse than that. There was a picture of me, Waters, Beck, and Carlson at the White House, but that was a real picture.
By the way,
I'm tempted to say it was AI.
No, this is also going to be funny, Bill. The things that are actually real. Do you know what the number one response is going to be? It's AI. Everybody's going to say that, and we're not going to have any idea what is real and what is fake, because if something's out there that you don't like, you're just going to be like, that's totally made up. That's AI. And if it's really fake, you're going to say, wait, that's fake, and none of us are going to have any idea what's real and fake.
Well, that's why Congress has to pass new laws, new defamation, libel, and slander laws. And they have to pass them pretty quickly to make it easier for people to sue.
But that's my point, Bill, is people are gonna hide behind a bad faith, I was acting in good faith standard unless we change these laws because of AI. They're going to say, I'm just going on what was So you're right. We got to change this. It's going to be a huge problem.
And to your point, Buck, it's going to be hosted websites that are in foreign countries that are hard to be able to track down, because they're going to be a lot of these sourcing, right? And then it's going to go everywhere.
Yeah.
They'll outsource them to the South Asian people. But we should have the British system anyway. And the burden of defamation should be lowered here because the charlatans are running wild, and it's gonna make it even harder for decent people not to get framed and extorted, and that's why Congress got to get involved.
Look, I think thanks for the time, Bill, and we encourage everybody to go check out Bill's newest book. I think the Times v. Sullivan standard, and I've said this for a long time, is going to have to be readdressed. That's a 1960s, early 60s civil rights era precedent. It doesn't really play in the modern era very effectively. Bill, we appreciate the time, and we'll get you on again soon.
Thanks for having me in, guys.
Anytime.
Bill O'Reilly. Check him out, BillO'Reilly.com. He's got a lot of great stuff there, in addition to one of the best-selling nonfiction book series of all time. When we first met up with the team at the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, they were understandably focused on helping tens of thousands of Israeli citizens displaced and affected by the war. But for many years before then, even today, they're continuing to help members of the Jewish faith no matter where they are in the world. That includes Jewish community members in our nation as well that have been affected by anti-Semitic acts. For the IFCJ, this is an important effort. The IFCJ is on the front lines providing real help where it's needed most, giving food and shelter to Jewish families that feel under threat. I have seen this for myself, and I have helped to do some of the charity work that they have done in Israel. I was over there about a year ago in December. Your gift of $45 will help support their life-saving work by helping provide food, shelter, much more. Supporting the IFCJ is a spiritual stand, too. Please call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-4325. You can also go online to ifcj.org. Every dollar helps. Don't wait. Be the difference. IFCJ.org.